Welcome back. If you're just joining us, in my last tutorial, I did how to shade the eyes and the nose. Excuse me. One side of the face is going to be a boy, one side is going to be a girl. I'm trying to make lighter skin tone on this side and darker skin tone on this side, so it's going to look off. It's going to look a little different. And for, sorry, for right now, it's looking weird because I do have some darker areas and as opposed to the lighter areas. So this would be a lighter eye, like a green, hazel. Blue would be probably a little bit lighter depending on your blue. This would be your darker hazel, your brown eye. You can see I even darkened the eyebrow on this side, but that's what's going on. So that's why it looks so different. I'm trying to not make it look the same. So just to let you know. All right, sorry, my chair is squeaky. Oops. So I am going to start working on the lips. I feel like the lips can be a little bit difficult depending on how you're doing it or how you have done it in the past. I don't know, I just find them a little bit harder to do. You have to remember though that your lips are darker than your skin tone. So I don't want to see anybody that have white lips or even like black lips, because unless you're wearing black lipstick, then they shouldn't look like that. But they need to be darker than your skin tone. So this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for me just because I've got this darker skin tone over here and a lighter skin tone here. Gentlemen, you have to be really careful that you don't make it look like you have lipstick on. So you have to just get it a little bit darker than your skin tone. We're gonna do lips today and then some skin tone to make your face look a little bit more round and a little bit more alive than the white paper. So I like to start with the top lip and then I'll work my way down to the bottom lip. If you look in your mirror, you will notice that your top lip is darker than your bottom lip. And that's because it curves in towards where your mouth meets and your bottom lip curves out. And typically our bottom lip is a little bit fuller. So we're gonna have more of a highlight here, right here on the bottom, and then it gets darker towards the bottom of the lip. Excuse me. So I don't want you to outline the lips. The lips should not look like you've got like this crazy outline of lip liner around them. You just, they just need to be a little bit darker. So I know my lips are really light, so I'm gonna darken it up just a touch. I also like to work sideways for my lips. I don't know why. It just helps me create nicer lines. So you may find it works better for you to work like this. You may find you need to angle your paper or whatever, but I'm gonna sort of angle it to the side just for a little bit right now. The other thing is now that you have put some shading on, you have to be aware of where your drawing hand is all the time. So you may have it over here just so that you're not smudging anything up here. So same goes with your left hand. You just have to be aware of where you're doing it. If you're left-handed, you might turn your page this way. It just really depends. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm only gonna do half the lips, which again is a little bit of a challenge. I'm just darkening it up just a touch. So you can see the outline is coming alive a little bit more, but not super crazy. Where your lips meet should be pretty dark, no matter what kind of skin tone you have, because that's a really deep shadow. So I am gonna come in here and make this line darker, all right? If you look on your lips, you have little lines all over them. You have to be very careful that you don't just come in here and shade with lines. You're gonna look like you have cracked lips or someone drew lines on you, so you have to be aware of that. For your top lip, it pretty much is all of the same tone. You're gonna have a little bit of a shadow here, but it does get darker towards the outside because your lips curl with your face, the roundness of your face. So I typically start with the outside here and make it a little bit darker. Again, making sure I'm pressing really lightly. I may need to have a flat spot, so turning to my back page, you can see I've got a ton, and making a little bit of a flat spot on my page here. So I'm coming in and just going with the shape of my lips and making it a little bit darker towards the top, coming to the bottom where my lips meet, having a little bit darker there, having a tiny bit lighter in the middle, just a little bit, not too much, because I don't want it to look like I've painted something weird on, but I do want to have a little bit of a highlight in here. So top lips, pretty easy. And for right now, I'm gonna keep it like that. I am just gonna leave it. I may have to come back and modify it, but I'm gonna go on to my bottom lip because then I can really tell what I need to mess around with my top lip. Make this line a little bit darker. I'm gonna come on the bottom of my lip, and just like we did in the last tutorial, make like a fuzzy line down here. I don't want it to be super crisp or it's gonna look like I have lip liner on. So I have this fuzzy line because it is gonna be a little bit darker on the bottom here. So I'm coming in from the tip, like not the tip, but the outside of my lip, making it a little bit darker where the lips meet. And then I'm gonna come down to the bottom, missed that spot, come down to the bottom here and make this shadow come up. And I'm gonna leave a white spot in between. I haven't done that anywhere else here, sort of a little bit there, I guess, but I'm gonna leave a little bit of a white area because that's where my highlight is. I'm gonna turn my paper back around. And your lip does have those lines, so you can come in and sort of add a little, oop, that's way too dark. So instead of erasing, take your eraser and just sort of tap on the paper. So you're not interrupting your whole shading, but that line was way too dark, holy cow. So I'm gonna come in here and just really lightly try to add some lines in here from the bottom, and they curl out. They curl out, and then I'm gonna come from the top, add a couple lines coming from where my lips meet, and maybe having a little bit up on the top, just sort of defining this a little bit. I'm not really adding lines coming down from the top, just defining it a little bit more because it sort of got lost in translation here. Some of those lines are there. I'm gonna smudge them a little bit because I don't like how dark they are, but I want them to sort of be there. Now I'm very gently adding some more shading on to sort of make these lips look like they're coming alive. All right, so those are gonna be my lips. I may have to lighten them up. I gotta add some skin tone and we'll see. Again, to lighten them, do not erase the whole thing. Just tap around and it'll lighten it up for you. I don't know if I like these lips. I'll have to check them out here. I'm gonna go again to the back, make a flat spot because I'm gonna work on my skin tone. And I'm moving my hand back on my pencil so that it's really light. So when you do your skin tone, if you look in the mirror, you will naturally see that you'll have a highlight here on your cheekbone. It goes a little bit darker here, a little bit darker on your chin. There's some shadow under your lips, but you have to be careful with adding all of these in just so that you don't look like you're dirty and you don't look like you have like a bunch of like rouge or blush on. And if you're a girl and you wear blush, then you can maybe accentuate your cheeks a little bit, but be very careful that you don't start turning yourself into a cartoon. So I'm gonna start on the outside here, and it's gonna blend in with his hair because we haven't really done any hair. It is gonna be a little bit darker as it goes back towards my ears, just because your face is round. So I'm doing little round movements with my pencil. Again, I am not doing straight lines. The straight lines are gonna really make it look like you've got these weird lines on your face. Taking the shadow under my lip and sort of bringing it out so it doesn't look like it just stops under there. I'm leaving this area here a little bit whiter, bringing some of this shadow out from my eye underneath so it creates like my cheekbone right here. All right, I'm gonna come in and just super, super gentle on the middle here because there's nowhere on my face that it's white like the paper. Bringing this shadow down onto my chin. Because again, we don't want anything to be defined by line. We want it to be defined by shadow. And you really have to look in the mirror for this. Where are your shadows? Where you need to add them in? And where is it a little bit darker? Our face isn't flat, so I'm darkening this up just a little bit because this is like a dark shadow here, so this is gonna be a little bit darker on the outside here. Bringing this in just a touch to create some of that cheekbone area here. All right? And then I'm gonna come under the lips because there is a shadow under lips. Now you have to be very careful that doesn't look like you've got a beard or goatee under your lips. Sometimes the shadow can be darker than your lips to help define those lips instead of having like a line. And again, it's gonna be a fuzzy line. So it's a fuzzy line that comes down. Many of us have a little bit of a chin shadow here, and that's not like the little cleft in the middle. Sorry, gotta make a flat spot because I moved my hand. It's not like it's a cleft, but it's like just a little bit of this like roundish area where our chin is more defined. So you do want to look in the mirror and see, where is that? Is it closer to your lips? Is it more towards your chin? Where does that fall? So I've got my like lip shadow here. Got my chin shadow here. I'm gonna come up on my forehead now, and the shading on your forehead is so incredibly light. Sorry again. See how many times I do this? I move my hand on my pencil. I've got to make a new flat spot because my flat spot changes, and you want to have this nice smooth shading. You don't want to have these lines or weird circles on your face. So I'm just adding the same tone across my whole forehead right now in really big giant circles. That looks a little scratchy, so I'm just gonna smudge it just a little bit, smudge down here, right there. I am going to come in here and do a little bit darker by my hairline because my hair is going to create a little bit of a shadow on my forehead, especially in the receding part back here and a little bit right here. But you have to be careful. You don't want it to look like you've got like dirt next to your hairline. You may have to come in here and add a little bit of a shadow here depending on your face. But as you can see, it's starting to come together. It's starting to look more round, more realistic. You may not like how defined this is, so come in here and shade this up. I mean, this is all for what you look like. So there's lips and some skin tone. I'm gonna start working on the other side now. Join me on the next tutorial and you'll see what the finished product looks like.